Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast. And today, um, I was gonna do this one actually a couple days later, but I figured I have time today, and so why not just do the video now? This is the first month review for Major League Baseball for technically March and April, but it's mostly just April. But more or less, we are reviewing the first month of the year. We are already a month into the baseball season, and it's time to review how our team's doing so far to start this year. We've had some surprises. We've had some we've had some surprises to start the year. Some teams that we weren't really expecting to do as well as they have, and had some teams that wow, really was not expecting anything out of them. So definitely a lot to see here. A lot that's going to change. A lot that will be really fun. So we're gonna see how this goes. We're gonna see. Well, I'm sorry. We're gonna take a look at this. We're gonna take a look at some of these teams. How are they doing? And we'll get things started here in the AL East. And our first team here that we have to look at is the New York Yankees, sitting at 20-11. Um, you kind of come to expect this. I mean, it's the Yankees. This is obviously a very good baseball team. We all kind of knew that they are going to be good this year. I mean, they are a good team. A couple guys on the IL, but that hasn't mattered. Again, you expect the Yankees to be good. They've been good. We kind of came to expect this. This is very much what we thought we would see going into this year. Um, and then not really much I have to say other than that. Then we have the Tampa Bay Rays, who definitely I was not thinking would be this good to start the year. But here we are at 18-12, a good start to the year for them. Actually, a -1 run differential, which is kind of strange for a team that high, that far above 500. You don't normally see that, but they've made every game pretty close, I suppose. But I mean, the Rays still have a couple decent players, but to me, I kind of look at their team. It's a team that's been consistently getting like worse and worse, it seems, every year. And this year, it really hasn't necessarily been the case. But I mean, these guys just to me are not overly impressive. I mean, they have, like I said, they have some pieces still left. I mean, Yaro's obviously turned into a really, really nice player for them. But really, other than that, it's like I don't really see much of much in this Tampa Bay team. I mean, they have some guys, and there's a couple other dudes. Like there just isn't really anything that stands out to me. But this is a Tampa team that consistently finds ways to win and has done it on a pretty much consistent basis. So we'll see how it goes for the Rays, but off to a nice start to 2026 at 18-12. The Baltimore Orioles, who made some big moves in the offseason this past season, or who made big moves in this past offseason. There we go, I said it right. Um, Made big moves in this past offseason, sitting at 15-16, just a tick below 500. Overall, they have some decent players. I mean, obviously, Polar Bear was their biggest addition, and Pete Alonso, and that really hasn't worked out yet. But they also have some really good players. There's a lot of them are on the IL right now, dealing with some injuries, and overall some porous play from some top level dudes. Adley Rutschman, though, has had a very good season from thus far. He's been very good, very much what they were hoping for out of their what had been a previous All Star catcher. He had a couple rough years, but seemingly looking seemingly See, but seems to have turned a corner. I am like, sorry guys, I am kind of tired, and I'm also kind of, I don't know where my mind is right now. But Adley Rutschman having a bounce back year, looking a little bit more like himself, which is something that the Orioles were very much hoping to see out of him. Overall, I mean, I'm sure they probably want to be a little bit better than this, but sitting right pretty much at 500 is not a bad place to be. And it could be a lot worse. So, I mean, obviously, this isn't necessarily, a great start, but sitting at 500. There's, certainly pretty much right at 500. I mean, they're a game below, but um, sitting pretty much right around 500 is not a bad place to be. And you can go either direction from here. So not a great start, not a bad start. Certainly nothing be panicking about in by any means. And then we had the Toronto Blue Jays here sitting at 14 and 17. Um, Not the greatest start I'm sure they wanted either. Going into last year, it was actually a slower start for them last season, but then they picked it up really well towards the end. Obviously, won the American League and nearly knocked off the Dodgers for the World Series, but fell a hair short in Game 7. And it really has not been a great start to this year for the Blue Jays, sitting at 14 and 17. They lost a couple guys, and they lost Bo Bichette in free agency. Tried to replace him with I forget his name, but he's from Japan. Try to replace him with trying to replace Bichette with him. Um, hasn't necessarily been what they were hoping for thus far. Um, seeing they've won quite a few games at home, just haven't found a way to win on the road just yet. Um, Not what they were hoping for, but certainly plenty of time to turn it around. And then there's Boston. Wow. 12 and 19 to start the year. It has been a disastrous beginning for the Boston Red Sox. So much so that Alex Cora has already been fired as the manager, which is the same thing as being the coach. But Alex Cora already has been ousted as the Red Sox manager. I know they appointed some interim guy. I don't really know who, but they appointed an interim guy. But it is not good times in Boston right now. It has been a mess. Uh, the hitting has really not produced much. The pitching hasn't necessarily been on point all the time. But that offense has been very sluggish, and they are really trying their best to snap out of that and fix some of that. But so far, it just hasn't really come to fruition. It's been a rough start for Boston. Again, plenty of time to turn things around. There's certainly, season's certainly not over for them. Plenty of time to fix this, but this is a rough start. To be this early in the year and already be down 8 games. I mean, that's already that's staring down the bottom of the barrel pretty early on, and that's definitely not something I'm sure they really want to do. But next we go to the AL Central, and this is probably the epitome of a beyond mediocre division. As the two leaders of this division, you can see them tied there at 500 apiece at 16 and 16. Yeah, those lead the division at 16 and 16. Uh, yeah, so this is a scary bad division, guys. And we get to lead it, I guess, technically. I'll start with the top 16 and 16 team with the Detroit Tigers. Um, Kind of been all over the place. We've had some good days pitching, had some not so good days pitching, had some good days hitting, had some not so good days hitting. It's kind of been everywhere with us. We actually have by far the largest home versus road disparity in the entire league, with the best home record in baseball at a whopping 10 and 2. Only 2 losses at Comerica Park. Very impressive, but that road record is also among the worst. It is not good. It's 6 and 14. But like I said, 10 and 2, easily the best home record in baseball. No one comes close to that. So I guess we just know how to we really good at home cooking, I suppose. um, we'll have another series at home now, coming up here against the Rangers. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe we can win all 3 of those. Especially when I'm, whoops, I hit the wire there. Sorry. But especially when I'm only going to be there on Sunday. Do not lose that one. But I mean, this is a team that to me, they clearly made a half-hearted attempt at going all in, which their version of going all in uh, was, oh, well, let's just sign every pitcher under the sun, and we'll just hope our young hitters and whoever else we just bring up, they all can uh, just happen to contribute and do a great job, and we don't have to spend like I said, half-hearted attempt at going for it all with probably being Scubo's last year, seeing we don't want to re-sign him for whatever stupid reason, or at least we just aren't willing to pay enough to re-sign him. Either way, incredibly stupid. But this is a Detroit team that, like I said, has been all over the place. They've had good games on both ends when it comes to hitting and when it comes to pitching, but just seemingly can't put both two and two together. But still has led them to a dead spot on 500 record at 16-16 and a tie for the division lead with the team that has been the bane of their existence in the division and has consistently taken the division from their grasp, which is Cleveland, also at 16-16. This is a team that isn't much different from really last year. Lack of offense and has some good pitching, and that's kind of been what it is. Their numbers aren't actually that far off from the Tigers, but they've kind of played exactly like us. They'll have random games where they've had a little less offense, but really, I think these two are very similar, and it'll probably be tug of war between these two for the division most of the year. Then you have, and with Cleveland, they're bringing up some young guys for hitting. So that they have a lot of young dudes coming in. They got the Chase DeLauder, the former number one overall pick, I believe it was in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, they also brought in a top end hitter. I forget where he was from, but Travis Bazana, I think he's a second baseman. They've also brought him up as well. So a lot of young guys that they're bringing up onto this team currently for hitting, for pitching. They're a young team. But they only have a lot of younger guys. This is an interesting Cleveland team. Like I said, this is probably going to be it's going to be a two-horse race, probably between those two. And I'd imagine you're going to see a lot between those two the majority of the year. Then you have the White Sox, who are off to a 14-17 start. I mean, probably maybe a little bit better than I would have anticipated, but I mean, this is still a team that's mostly rebuilding. I mean, obviously you don't want to rebuild forever. They did give a big time contract to a slugger out of Japan, known as I hope I'm saying this right. Sorry, it's sometimes it can be a little challenging with pronouncing some of their names because it's not pronounced like it is here. I think it's nah, Muintaka Murakami. I know it's Murakami. I think at least it's Murakami. First name, I have no idea. You just sound it out and kind of hope you're right, and then you hear you're not, and you're like, yeah, crap, So it is what it is. I believe that's his name. And I really hope that's his name because he's done really well for me for fantasy this year. Yeah, I do have fantasy baseball. But the White Sox, I mean, like I said, not the greatest of teams. I mean, this is a team that's looking to rebuild. But I mean, I'm sure if you were to tell a White Sox fan that they would be a game and a half out of first place in the division a month in, they would probably say you're crazy. But here we are. And then you have the Minnesota Twins, which is another kind of. They had a really nice start to the year. Actually, they've kind of faltered a little bit as of late. You actually can't see farther off to the left there, but they're actually 3-7 in their last 10 games. So that tells you anything. They were actually off to a very nice start. They had a sweep of somehow the Tigers. Don't want to talk about that, but they're 14-18. It's another team where I would say they're not good. They basically traded away their entire team last year. very confusedly. I don't really know the reasoning for just literally dumping everybody. But they literally just sent away the entire team, not named Byron Buxton. I mean, no one's all Joe Ryan's still there, but outside of those two, like nobody else is there. Yohan Duran's gone, Griffin Jax is gone. I mean, they traded away every single piece known to mankind. Um, and it was kind of strange, but the Twins sitting now at 14 and 18, only 2 games out first place, which is kind of scary to think about when they've been as bad as they've been. Um, Not a good team, but uh, so far it hasn't been a total disaster. Then we have the Kansas City Royals at 12 and 19. Yikes. This is a team that very much like last year and seemingly a lot like this year as well lacked a lot of offense and had the pitching to hang in there with anybody. And pitching hasn't been as on point this year, and the offense has lagged just as much as it did a season ago. So, I mean, for Kansas City, I mean, if they can find an offensive pulse somewhere and they can just get any kind of hitting at all. Also, that road record, wow. Um, that might actually top the Tigers. Um, but oh, I should probably put it down a little bit so you guys can see it. But for the Royals, I mean, it's been a rough start. Will it, turn around at any point? Sure, it can. But this, like I said, this team needs to find offense. They need to get offense going. Need some pitching to be a little bit better. Cole Reagans has been kind of all over the place for them so far, which is the race really. So the Royals, not the start they were hoping for. They had the 1 year when they went to the wild card round, and they've kind of been searching for offense ever since. So I'm sure they're looking for better things, but for this year, so far, uh, not as good as they would, I'm sure, hope. And then you have the AL West here, starting with the or I'm sorry, the Athletics. They're not really Oakland. They're not really anywhere. But the Athletics, who shockingly lead the division, believe it or not, at 17 and 14. This is a team that they have offense. This is a team that does score very well. Normally, they do have a very good scoring team, but their problem last year actually was their inability to pitch. They had a horrendous pitching staff last year that I think gave up the most runs in all of Major League Baseball a season ago. So they just couldn't stop anybody from albatrossing them with runs constantly. And they had, I think they're like 70 and 90 or something like that. But so far this year, the offense has kind of lagged a little bit, and weirdly enough, the pitching staff has actually been okay, has been actually decent to start the year, which is kind of weird. So I'm sure the Athletics are a little surprised by that. I don't know. Are there Athletic fans still left? I guess in Sacramento there is. Their whole situation is extremely weird because they didn't want to stay at the Coliseum, and then they weren't ready to move into their Vegas stadium yet, which is still being built, and so they went to a AAA facility, and they're playing at a AAA stadium, which is not really a good scenario if you're a Major League Baseball team to play at a minor league stadium. It's a mess, and you know, again, I don't really know how many. I mean, they must be making money somehow, but to me, I find it kind of tough when you alienate an entire city, and then you're going to a different city, of which you're also going to just alienate in 3 years anyway, and you don't really care. You're just trying to, make a pit stop until you get to your eventual destination. It's like, how are you getting any money for any of these games? You know what I'm saying? So, it's a very odd situation to me, but I guess it's working for them, and good luck to them, I suppose. Next, we have the Seattle Mariners, who are not confused on what their city is. They're sitting at all similarly to the Tigers and Cleveland, sitting at 16 and 16. Seattle's very good. This is a team that last year went toe to toe with the Blue Jays to make it to the World Series for the first time in their franchise history, but they fell a hair short, and they also knocked us off just barely to get to that point. Uh, this is a team with an elite pitching staff, very good pitchers, and they have several good hitters as well. They did lose. Is now at the Reds. Eugenio Suarez, which was someone of the guy, which was a player they got via a trade at the deadline last year, but still have a pretty good core of Randy Rosarena, Julio Rodriguez, Josh Naylor, and of course big dumper Cal Raleigh, who had 60 homers last year out of absolutely nowhere. Um, but it's a good team, and obviously not the start I'm sure they wanted. I mean, when you're a team that's borderline, wanting to be a World Series contender, I mean, it's really every year there's going to be the Dodger Invitational. But when you're looking to be a contender for the American League, you're not looking, be at 500 with the Tigers. But and that's kind of a shot at the Tigers, but again, I was not expecting much out of this year. But anyways, like I said, if you're looking to be an AL contender, 500 is not necessarily what you're hoping for. But being at 500, it's not the worst place to be either. So, you know, for Seattle, definitely not the start you're wanting, but definitely not a terrible start either. And then you have the Texas Rangers sitting at 15 and 16, basically just below 500, pretty much at 500, same thing. Who will be starting a series in Comerica with the Tigers in about 17 minutes. Um, this team is already off to a very eerily similar start to last year, as they have some of the least amount, as I think they actually have scored I think the least amount of runs in the among yeah, that's right. They have actually scored among they're in the bottom five, I believe, in runs scored, and in the top five in runs given up. I mean top five by they've given up the least. So like the Royals just find some offense, man. And I mean, Wyatt Langford has been on and off the I has been on and off with injuries this year. Currently on the IL, already delayed. So they're just looking for an offensive pulse to really just offset what has been an electric pitching staff this year. It's been outstanding for them. They're looking to continue that. For the Rangers, just they need some offense, and whenever they can find that, they say thank you. Um, then we have the Houston Astros, and boy, has this been a disaster to start this year, which really isn't their fault. I mean, they're 12 and 20. You can see their offense has honestly done reasonably well, but that runs against number is rather scary. And really, the main reason for that is every single starting pitcher for them is on the IL. So they literally don't have a single healthy starter right now, as everybody is hurt, which has obviously led to them going to extreme measures to try and find any kind of pitching to fill in holes, fill in gaps, and I mean, you're even their closer. I mean, we're talking about the starting pitching just being, all out due to injuries. Even Josh Hader's out with an injury, and he's not expected back until maybe like late May, early June, or something like that. So they've been ravaged by injuries early on this year. Obviously, the results show at 12 and 20. Um, rough start. I mean, when you have that many injuries, it's very hard to recover. I mean, the Tigers are already starting to get to that point, which makes me worry what's going to happen to them. But um, for Houston, it's just like, man, bad luck to start the year. If they can get a little healthy, you get some pitchers back, you get some rhythm going again. I think this team will be back in the mix. But and I say back in the mix. They're only 5.5 games off first, but you know, this team will be a lot better once they get their pitching staff fully healthy again. It does an unfortunate start. It does an unfortunate string of injuries to begin the year. As long as you can survive it, not being totally awful, I think you'll be able to hold on. And then there's the LA Angels, who also are 12-20, which is a little strange because they're actually very good to start the year and have completely melted down now, down the stretch here, as they are now actually 1-9 in their last 10 games and have lost their last 6. So they, I mean, they're actually off to a very good start. They actually pretty decent. Mike Trout has actually turned the clock back and looked like the Mike Trout of old, which was like whoa to everybody. No one really expected that to happen, and I mean for good reason. The guy had, I think it's been a couple of years since he's really looked like himself. Constantly out with injuries, but this year he's been relatively healthy and well, he's kind of looking like his old self again, which is kind of scary, especially if teams want him at the deadline. Which I mean, the Angels aren't going anywhere; they might actually do that. So very interesting to see. It's been a rough stretch though for them. I mean, they had a hot start, but clearly it's been a little downhill since. Now at now one lost. I don't even know if they've lost more before that, but one of their last 9 and one of their last 10. Sorry, 1-9 in their last 10. Um, lost their last 6. So rough stretch for sure. Um, but for the Angels, I mean, were you really expecting much else? I'm just totally being real there. Were you really expecting much different? Because I don't think I would have. That's all I got though. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, adios everyone.